Hi everyone, welcome to Expansion Scapes, my channel, and in this video I'm going to share with you my experience of the Akashic Records and how in that experience the Akashic Records has a relationship with the light, or many people call it source consciousness, God, creator. But for me, I like to call it the light of everything. So this experience I had in a kind of a trance sort of vision when I was a teenager. And it was kind of maybe a couple of years after my near-death experience. And just as a background, I've had visions and like non-physical experiences all throughout my life. Like since I was a kid, I guess the earliest experience I had was when I was 2 years old. I saw my first past life. But I only started sharing these experiences now recently because I was told by my family that you shouldn't share these things, or I was told, like, it's your imagination, or people are going to think you're crazy. They're not going to take you seriously. You're not going to be able to find a job. You'll be fired and stuff like that. So now I guess I'm old enough, and I've went through a really long healing journey where I decided that it's okay. And also the world has changed since then, because that was like a really long time ago. Like, I guess it was 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, it was a different world, seriously. And today you talk about the Akashic Records, it's like a normal thing. So I have changed and the world has changed. But I still feel like it's beneficial to share, if not only just to speak my truth, but also I feel like because it has enriched my experience of my life, I'm hoping that it can also enrich someone else's experience, your experience. And when I ask my guides, why do I want to share this so much? Like, I've always wanted to share all of these visions since I was a teenager, and I never did. And I asked my guys, like, why do I want to share this particular one? So they were showing me like a branch of a tree, and it was branching out more. It was a small branch, like, meaning that it's like pretty far out there. And I was shown like this branch is a kind of like my soul family, based on common desires and common curiosities for life experiences. So I saw my soul family kind of sitting around a fire in the forest, and everybody has had like a busy day or something, experiencing their own stuff, because everybody has slightly different desires and curiosities for experiences. And then they all come back in the evening and sit by the fire and share dinner. And then they all share these experiences with each other. And it's interesting for everybody because for me, soul family means you have similar kind of interests and similar kind of desires and directions for what you want to experience in your life, whether it's a physical human life or non-physical astral life, or a physical life as not as a human. So yeah, I was shown this kind of soul family atmosphere where everybody's sharing and everybody's interested, and everybody's like, no way, you did this, like, oh man, like, how about this, how was that, oh seriously, okay, well, you had a cool experience, I'm gonna go and try that out somewhere else, but in my context, in my way, you know. So that is the reason I was feeling like, yes, I'd like to do that. So again, my intention is just like it was for me, to enrich the experience of someone, you know, and also to show that the Akashic Records don't need to be seen as a always a library, even though I know that most people say that the library is just a symbol that's very convenient for people to understand. So in my case, it wasn't a library, and the reason I want to mention that is because some people might be wanting to access these records and they might not see a library and they might feel discouraged. They might say, oh man, I didn't see any library, and I don't think I connected to the Akashic Records because there was no library or something. So I wanted to share that it can look different for different people. And for my experience, in my case, I have at least two ways of seeing it. One way is the way I'm going to share with you now, and another way I see it is a tree. So when I was shown the Akashic Records, it was kind of like almost like a presentation by my guides, and it was a focused presentation, and it had a specific meaning and purpose to it. So I saw it like it was, if you ever study math or something, sometimes you see different charts on one page, and different kinds of charts may be talking about the same thing, but they have different presentation qualities to them. So, for example, they could be describing the same data, but one way you can describe it is in a bar chart, and another way you can describe it is in a pie chart. So you'd be looking at two different things, but you'd be looking at the same data, but receiving it in a slightly different perspective, kind of. So the way I was shown it was the Akashic Records section was on the left side of me. And this was a kind of trance, non-physical experience. I really have a hard time explaining what it was, but sometimes I just it's not really astral travel either. It's kind of trance vision. Is that a word? When you're in trance and you have a vision, but it wasn't like induced by any substances or anything. I just happen to have these kinds of visions a lot. I used to have them randomly. Now I can't control it. So, like 6 levels of like almost like Earth from the bottom, almost like a building, but it wasn't a building. It's just like levels, like ground, the earth ground here. And then the second level right on top of it, third level, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And I was told by my guides, I feel like my guides were right here explaining things to me, almost like giving me presentations. They were explaining like a PowerPoint presentation or something. And they were right here and they were explaining. So the levels were generations, I was told. And that's not to say that these are all the generations of history that humankind went through, or that Akashic Records includes only human incarnations. As I said, there was a specific experience, so I was shown only that which is relevant to me living this life as, me, Olga, in this body, and for like what I needed the information for what, like for my life. And the bottom level was something like hunter-gatherers, people doing their thing. And then I would see something that we call ancient times, like ancient Sumerians, ancient Egyptians. And I don't remember all the levels specifically because it doesn't really matter. I remember that I saw that the architecture was changing of the people. where they lived, what kind of buildings there were, and what kind of clothes they were wearing, what kind of, like, let's say over here they were using horses, and then here they started to use cars, and here they were, on top there were already skyscrapers. And this was a symbolic representation. For some reason, 1920s really were really bright, like they struck out at me, like 1920s. And they were all these cars, they were like really, really cool cars, and people wearing cool clothes, I think. So, at that time I thought, whoa, that was really nice. So I guess that time was significant for me. So in those levels, all the people were always alive. And then they were all living and they were all doing stuff, and it felt like it was live, like it was happening right now. I could zoom in into anyone and look at them and watch them, what they were doing. And I knew at that time that these were actual real people who actually did this stuff at that time. And with all these layers, it felt like they were all living at the same time. But not really. And by the way, the number 6 generations, obviously it should come as a symbol, because obviously there isn't such a clear-cut thing as a generation. There are people born all the time, right? So how are you going to put everyone in 6 generations? I don't know. But then I was shown, and this was on the left side, and right in front of me, there was this light of everything. And I'm going to get back to that light. So it was like 2 charts that were showing the same thing, but in a different way. So I was also shown that a lower level, let's say, and there were people living, and then I was kind of zoomed in, and then I saw that somebody died. And when they died, the mist, which is their soul looked like mist to me, like when you boil the water and the water starts evaporating. So it felt like a mist. So the mist was also, it wasn't like one thing, but the mist consisted of tiny, tiny, tiny little parts, because that's what mist is. It has many, many, many little constituents inside of it, like many droplets of water. So this mist would go up. It would go from a dead body, it would just go up to the next level, and it would enter a baby, and it would be born as a baby. And at the same time as this was happening on the left side, the stages, I also was given kind of like a reminder of sorts, which when the light is present, you don't really need to be reminded, but I guess like a comparison that, we are all part of one. We are all one, that light. And this wasn't the first time I saw that light of everything. So it wasn't like the lesson wasn't about the light, but the lesson was more about how we are having this separated experience here in the physical as specifically human beings. And that is not to say that only human beings have this mist. Only in that teaching a lesson, it was shown to me like that. But as you guys probably know, I am a shamanic healing practitioner, and I do have relationships with souls of anything. So the concept of animism, where everything has a soul, and where I talk to souls, and that includes souls of animals, souls of parts of me, and souls of the table that I'm sitting by right now, the soul of the chair, the soul of the clouds, the soul of the sky, the soul of the rocks, sand, water, wind, whatever you want to focus on. So, yeah, it was a symbol only for human beings. And then I was just given more examples of how people died and the mist came up and then it settled into another person higher up the level. So in a way that time has passed, so the new baby would be born later. But also everybody was alive at the same time. It's hard to talk about, but yeah, these are kind of like two complete opposite concepts, that everybody's alive at this, everybody's having all incarnations at the same time on the one hand, and on the other hand, the lives have a chronological order. So that is one of the lessons that I was taught from looking at those Akashic Records. And at that time, I wasn't given a name, Akashic Records. I'm just saying it right now because that's what we humans as a collective have named this thing, this system. So on the one hand, yeah, everybody's alive at all times. All incarnations are experiencing themselves at all times. But also at the same time, it's it comes in chronological order, and somehow that all made sense as two complete incongruent opposites are actually true at the same time, like two sides of the same coin. Like one is head, one is tails. It's almost like looking at, the face of it and the back of it. It's like two completely impossible, incongruent truths are happening at the same time. So while on the left I was shown that something is happening at the same time, like all people live at the same time, but also there's a chronological order to incarnations, and also all incarnations are happening at the same time. In front of me, I saw this. In front of me, I saw the light of everything, as I like to call it, or source. So the source of the light was far removed from me, and the light was coming towards me like, I would say kind of like a liquid, warm, golden, yellowish, musical soup. And I guess I'll make another video on the light because it wasn't the first time I came across it. I saw it in this incarnation. That's why in this particular vision, it wasn't a lesson about the light. It was more like comparison of, okay, this is the light, and then these are our incarnations. This is how human incarnations work. And I was shown for this particular topic, because otherwise it's going to be 3-hour video, for this particular concept, is that this light was like a soup, like a warm golden soup, which I could see that it was one at the same time, and at the same time it consisted of like a myriad little pieces. And the more you want to focus on the light, the more pieces you can see. It's almost like with your desire to focus, to zoom in into the light, it's almost as if you are creating more pieces, And it's like from the other experience of when I first really saw the light and got acquainted with it, it was questions and answers. So it's like I could ask any question about anything, like anything, Like, why does this happen? Why do we do this? What is the purpose of this? No. I remember myself asking the first time I saw the light, like a gazillion questions. And I was just asking and asking and asking. And then every question I would ask would be completely answered, like completely answered to my utmost satisfaction. Even more than that, it would just completely fill the cavity of the vessel of my question, right? It would be completely filled, like exactly. And that felt like almost like an orgasm in a way. It was really comparable. I can't compare it to anything else, but like if there was a perfect orgasm in the world, I would compare it to that, even more profound than that. And after one question was filled, like a bunch of other questions would be born, almost like children of that orgasm. And then I would ask that question, more questions, and they would all be filled. And that was one of the lessons from when I first saw the light in this incarnation. The fact that all questions have answers. All questions have answers. All curiosities will naturally have a fulfilling counterpart to each question. So sometimes, and as a kid, I was kind of taught that, not all questions have an answer to, like, we don't really know everything about the universe, and we don't really know this, we don't really know that. And that's why it kind of curbed my creativity. Like, hey, don't ask too many questions. First of all, it's annoying for adults. They have to answer everything. And also, they just don't know everything. And I'm not saying it right now, I know everything. But in that experience, I saw that any desire we have has a perfect counterpart that's going to answer that, and create the most fantastic, mesmerizing experience, an orgasmic experience. And then more questions pop out, like children, actually. And then I just kept, I don't remember all the details because the answers didn't come in word format, and my questions didn't really come in word format because this was psychic communication. So I would mostly ask for like purpose of stuff, because that's the kind of things I like to talk about. So I was mostly asking about purpose and like, why do we even do this? Why do we do that? So, and that's what I mean, that when you look at that soup of light, the more you focus your attention into each particle of light, even though it's all one, it's like you are creating those particles, because with your curiosity, with your questions, and then you're being satisfied. Oh, I saw this one. Okay, what about deeper? And it's just you can go as deep as you want. And that was one of the lessons, that you can ask all the questions you want, anything. Because the nature of the universe, the nature of light, the nature of you and me, we are made of that soup, is that they are going to be answered, So it's okay to let your curiosity just go, open your curiosity again, in case you have ever curbed your curiosity. So back to the soup of light. That soup was also like those separate particles of the soup was kind of like a mist. A mist is made of many, many little droplets of water, right? So that mist, I was shown that mist is the mist that is having physical experiences in these 6 layers at the same time and in chronological order. So that was a kind of a fascinating feeling, that even though we all consider ourselves as different from each other, because we all lived there and we all have fights, and the levels had wars on them too. So we had wars, we had fights, we had disagreements, we had hatred, we have everything. And at the same time, I'm shown this light. It's like, but we are all one. And in this experience as humans, we forget that we're all one. It's like wearing some kind of a shell of forgetfulness, or a shell of something, of separation, a shell of illusion, that we're not all one. And thanks to that illusion, we can have these fights, or we can have this interaction, we can have these, I guess, enriching experiences. Yeah. Even though fights might, it's suffering, and it's really difficult to put this in meaning. So when I was looking at all these 6 levels, I just felt a tremendous amount of love towards every single human being, because I myself, at the same time, on the front side, was experiencing the light as me. I am also the light, but I'm in a kind of ball of sorts, like a particle, a ball, separated, but I'm also the light. And I'm like, oh my God, we are all this light. And I was just filled with profound love for every single person. And then I started watching, like zooming into different people, and just watching their lives, like more specifically. But before that, I want to mention that when the mist would come out, I'm just going to call it mist. When I say mist, I mean soul. Okay. And I mean that soup of light, which is one, but also separating itself. And I was also shown a specific case, but it feels like it's not like a normal case, but like sometimes it can happen. So a person would die on one level and at one time, and the mist from that person would come out, and it would look like a river, a stream of mist. And then instead of going directly towards another human baby, it would separate itself into like two. I saw a specific example, so I don't know all the variations of how it happens, but I was shown the specific example how this mist went like separated, and a part of it went to do something, had its business, whatever, had its curiosity to do something, and then a part of the mist went and talked. It's like almost like talked to another stream of mist, and I don't know if the previous stream was like also a separation, or in that sense it doesn't even matter, because it's like all mist, it's a whole light. So it went to talk to another mist that also came from a dead person, someone's soul, and they talked to each other, and they almost had like evaluation and of what they want to do, like their curiosities, how compatible they are. So they went like this, and they had a communication like this, and like, do you want to have an experience together? Like, what kind of things do you want? Oh, I want this. What do you want? I want this. Oh, well, our interests, they really match. So you want to, have an experience as one human being? Like, yeah, I do. So then they just combined, and they went higher up to the time generation, level, and they were born as one person. So I felt that was really interesting, that our souls can separate like this. Like a part of us can go and do something else, and a part of us can go and be born as a human again, and perhaps even with another another soul, or maybe a part of someone's soul, and I'm getting like it's not something that's done like all the time and commonly, but it's something that can happen. So there you go. And I'm still wondering how that relates to my life. I wonder if I've done that, at this time I can't see. So after I was shown this framework, and I was filled with profound love for every single person living there, I was told by my guides, like, okay, you can go play now. Like you can go and look at every person, any person, and whoever strikes your interest, you can see more of their life. So I was just looking. I was like, oh, what an interesting person. And I was like, this one. And then I was just, I tell you, in an instant, I lived their whole life as them. But at the same time, I knew that it wasn't my experience. I guess it's something you call a download. It's like I read their record or something. It was like I watched their video of their life, but it wasn't just a video. It was like, it was combined. It was as if I was in that body and I was that mist. I wasn't me, because I have different desires and curiosities and perceptions. So I was aware that I was me, and I was taking a ride as that other soul. It's hard to explain, but it's like I lived the life as that person. And I felt all the emotions, and I felt all the suffering, and I felt all the joy, and I felt all the motivations, and I felt all the intentions, and I felt all the realizations, and I felt all of that. And I felt it was almost like I made those decisions that they made, but it wasn't, because that was them. They did that. So that was like, it's like a boundary, I am the observer here, but just like when you watch a movie, sometimes you get into the movie so much, it's like you are there. And sometimes they show a character making a difficult decision, an emotional decision. It's like you are them, because you're really, really taken by the movie. You forget that you're actually sitting on a couch in the city. But it's like you really are in the movie. And so that is the best way I can describe how I just lived a life of that person. And after I have lived the life of that person, I was just, and like I was out, kind of like in and out. And that was, I swear to you, it was like an instant. It was like a boop, and I lived that life. And after I would come out of it, I would be like, I would be filled with much more profound love for that particular human being. I was like, oh my God. And it was always the same message, like you are one, like me, I am one, and you are one. But at the same time, we had this different experience. And at the same time, they have different desires and curiosities and paths and questions and perspectives. But yet we are one. And for a time I played. I looked at different people, whoever I would look at and have a curiosity about their life, I would live their life. And every time I would live their life, I would be so in love with this person. Much more. And as I was I didn't experience the lives of too many people, like maybe it was 10 or something. But it was enough to just be like overwhelmed with so much love for everyone. And I guess that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from those lives, is that everyone who lived, who I experienced their life from their perspective, always had intentions of love, even though the actual actions of that person ended up hurting someone, or they ended up as like, not very nice people doing pretty bad stuff, as we would call it in our physical bodies. Like, someone does really horrible or something, we would say, he had really bad intentions or something, or she had really bad intentions. But when I lived as them, there was no such thing. It was coming from love. But the reason it came out as something that caused someone pain and suffering, it was because of all the distortions and because of that shell. Because we forgot that I am not you, you're not me. And we forgot that we're all one. We forgot the love. We forgot our true nature. And just filled with a lot of distortions, a lot of fears, a lot of promises made to yourself that you will never do this anymore. Or a lot of ideas like beliefs or, constructs that, well, if, I better hurt them first, otherwise they're going to hurt my family, or something like that. Like, otherwise they will hurt me. So there are many, many, many conditions like this. That's something we call today as shadows, or all the stuff that's like we're trying to heal within ourselves, as in spiritual healing, or in, for me as a shamanic healing practitioner, I would be healing those delusions, confusions, karma, I guess we call it, grudges, fears, guilt, shame, blame, all of that stuff. And I feel it that I can describe it as a shell, a shell, like a nutshell or something. Why are you acting nuts? I'm in a nutshell. Yeah, so what the biggest lesson I learned from that, living different people's lives in like instances, was that even if it looks horrible physically, we have intentions of love. And that was just like a profound sense, a feeling of love. Sorry for the noise, my cats are playing. It was just like a profound feeling of love. And then there was one person, which was a kind of representation of how I lived their lives in an instant, because I had a curiosity at that time. How come I can live their life in an instant? And the instant I had that curiosity, it was answered, right? Because all questions have answers. So I was, as I had that curiosity, I pointed at a man, old man. He was going on like a wooden, how you call it, carriage, with a donkey in front. He was very poor, and it looked like he had a suffering life. That's why I was drawn to him, because, we're all light and we're all this soup and all this love. But look at this man, he's suffering. This old man suffering. And I was just curious, what's going on? What's going on? So I wanted to live his life from his perspective, and I was given that. And as an explanation of how come I can see all these lights lives so quickly, like an instant. I was shown the details, but these details are also some symbolic details. So I don't want to say that they actually physically or astrally exist somehow, somewhere. It was a way to explain something to me, but it doesn't necessarily physically exist like that, even astrally or whatever. It was a construct that was created at that time for that purpose. And that construct was a tube. And at that time it looked like a blue tube. And it just started from the beginning of his life when he was born as a baby. So it was like a water hose, okay? A tube. It was blue for some reason. And I was in it. And I was like sliding down the water slide in a water park. Like that. Or moving. Because you don't have to do anything. Or at least as me who was watching his life. I don't really have to do anything. So I was just kind of... And also, if you've ever been into an aquarium, like an aquarium where they have those tubes and you have an escalator. It was not an escalator, but like an automatic thing that takes you places. So you're just standing there and looking at all the fish and it's in a tube. It's kind of like that. So I was just moving through the middle of the tube, through that tube of that person's life. And it started from his birth. And if I wanted to go kind of like behind the scenes because I wanted to understand how I was watching this, I would find myself in the tube. And if I wanted to participate more in his life, I would be like, just switch my focus and I would experience his life as him. And at the same time as I was experiencing his life as him, I could also do my own analysis of like, at the same time, seeing where he was coming from with his intentions and his emotions and his realizations and his decision making and all that stuff, as if I were him. But at the same time, I could manage to analyze it and apply this experience to my experience and compare and contrast and use that to create realizations for me. So enriching my experience as a mist, as a soul. So that was like a in-depth understanding that expanding on that instant of when I could actually experience someone's life in an instant. But to expand on that, this was the kind of like slow action movie or something, because I was more focused on the details for that one particular life, because I just wanted to know how this works. And so as this person was living, as the tube was blue, when nothing really really exciting happened, you know, like sometimes we just live through life like, you know, just flowing, going with the flow, nothing much, just going the way it's going. And I just look at blue, the tube. And then sometimes something emotional would happen. Like a climax would happen of a story, you know, some change or something would happen. And then he would feel emotions, a lot of like profound emotions, let's say. And naturally he would get realizations, you know, and he would experience a change of perspective. And I felt like it was all in one. And it's something we call a light bulb moment in English, I guess. But in that tube, I also saw it like a light bulb thing, but not a light bulb, but it was a circular light. So in that tube, it's like the tube was made of many, many frames, like a movie, frames. And they were like almost like not frames, I don't know, but like this one experience would be so bright, that this tube area, almost like that frame, would be lighted by a circular light, okay, circular light bulb, the kind of lights that you see people use for recording videos with the phone or something. So it would be like a light like that was just like boom. And when that light bulb, circular light, the circumference of the tube, like a frame, would light up, that experience felt like more alive than the other times in life. So it was like almost like this is a unit of life. And it was almost like a bit of like how time works, in the sense of when internally nothing happens, everything goes with the flow, nothing really changes so much, nothing significant actually happens. It feels like there was kind of no time, but it feels like time only clicks, like a unit of time clicks when you experience something, when you experience change. And I'm not saying that it has to happen just a few times in your life, but it was it had levels. It was like, it can be, people could have like, a number of huge, gigantic such alive moments in their life. But also when you go smaller and smaller, let's say even day-to-day basis, we could go and look at the day where almost like, some of the tunnel would be blue and some of the time of this 24 hours is a light bulb moment. And during that light bulb moment, as I noticed, there were like all of our four bodies were involved. Emotional body experienced something profound. Mental body and perceived it and analyzed it, understood it in a mental way. Physical body obviously felt it and had physical reactions to it. And our soul level, our spiritual body, I felt like that's where the realization happened. And the realization is the food of life, the feeling of being alive. And that is when, and I earlier talked about an orgasm, when an orgasmic feeling of when you have a question and the answer comes in and fills it completely. That feeling alive is that question met with an answer and felt like orgasmic on this side of the story of light and soup and love, and on the left side of the more specific experiences, it could feel like horrible suffering. Realizations and a change in perspective. And the change in perspective meant a change of me, who was experiencing it. Change of the person, the man I was watching. We change. I am a different mist. I'm a different soul. I'm a different, I don't know, observer, decider. Who am I? So in his life, I felt like in the beginning it was more like blue, but then it was getting more and more light bulbs, and then there were terrible light bulbs because he had a really hard life. And then I actually still remember his life, and I wrote it in a short story somewhere, but I don't think I should talk about it now. It's already a long video. So it feels to me like lifetimes when we experience a lot of those alive light bulb experiences, these are the lives that feel kind of more alive, And then there are lives which we can choose to have, which are more like blue, calm, I guess. They're calm. And there's no absolutely like judgment or preferences or better or worse kind of value system that, oh, it's better to have light bulb moments than blue moments. Because, without the contrast of what is a light bulb if you didn't know what is blue. So, you can't know that, right? I just want to mention that there is no something like better or worse associated with it, but some souls may choose to have a life with a lot of those light bulb moments, and they want to feel explosive and alive and changing and transforming. And some souls may choose to have more, blue kind of life. And I feel like sometimes they could get tired of this and go more blue, and the blue ones may feel like, oh wait, I want to have something more exciting. So the final kind of lesson, going back to the light of everything, to the soup, the golden soup with the source of light somewhere there. And the source of light was conscious and speaking and, psychically, not with words, responding to the things that I had curiosities about. And I felt that basically, actually, this lesson happened in my other experience. I might make a video about that too, but I'll just summarize it, that the way to get to the source of the light, I was shown that, to get in there, be there. And that would mean a different kind of consciousness, state. I don't know what word to use. So, to be in that source, it feels like really amazing to be in the soup floating around. But I had that burning desire to get to that source. And to get to that source, I was shown that you see all the people here on the left, like with all the levels, meaning all the lives, all the incarnations that have ever existed, and I guess will exist too. You need to somehow merge with all these people in order, and there I was shown it here, and I was shown all these people, all this mist here as the light. And I was shown that you can get to the source when you merge with all others. And then I was like, hey, no problem, because I love everyone so much. After that experience, I was just so full of love for everybody. No problem. So I was like, show me, give me who I have to merge with to get to the source. So I was shown some person that I never met in this life as Olga, and someone who I have lived as in that playtime experience when I experienced someone's life as them. I was like, this person, no problem. I love that person. That person is me. I am this person. We are one. So I was like floating towards the light, and this person was here, closer, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to merge. Hell yeah, I'm merging. And then it was a bit funny because this person was floating towards me, and I was floating there, and symbolically we still had bodies. And now I got a bit scared, like, hey, we're gonna crash. Like, how do I merge? I don't know how to merge. I'm okay to merge, but I don't know how to merge. And I just shouted to the light, I'm like, merge, And then it was almost like an answer, like, okay. And then we merged as one. And that was a profound feeling of almost like crying in the sense of relief. Like, oh my God, like a homecoming, kind of like that. And then it was worth it. Like, oh, it was good to merge. And then I was shown a bunch of different people whose lives I experienced. I was like, no problem. I can merge with them, merge. Then there were other people who I didn't read the Akashic Records of. And it was a bit more difficult, but I still was so full of love that I merged. And I was getting close to the light. And not that close. I just realized the more difficult it was to merge, the further away the source of lights felt to me. Because I realized, oh my God, I'm going to have to do a lot of merging. And I started to feel like I didn't really want to merge that much because the people were a bit more removed from me and I didn't live their life from the Akashic Records. So I was just kind of going on trusting the whole thing. And then I was like, that guy looks really shady. I don't really want to merge with that person, but then sometimes I would be like, no, but we're all one and come on, let's merge. And then eventually I was shown a specific person that I have seen in my life. Long story short, doesn't matter, but I really have a gigantic problem with this person. And I was like, merge with this person. And now I was like, can I merge with everyone else first? I don't want to merge with this person. And I was like, look, guys, I really understand that we're all one. And one day when I'll be more enlightened, I'll probably be able to merge with this person, but I'm not merging with this person right now. Like, no way. No. And then at that time, I was like, I've had enough of light for today. Thank you. And I was like, and it doesn't mean that after I merged, I'm still right now all specifically one with those souls that I merged with. Because in a way, I am one, even with that person I really hate and didn't want to merge with. I know that somehow, somewhere, in some other time, which is now, I am already merged with that person because I am already one. We are all one soup. Misty soup, which is, one light. And I knew that, but I still didn't want to. In that experience, I still didn't want to experience a merging. I was like, no, not gonna merge. And I just told them, hey guys, like, one day I will merge when I'm more enlightened, but this day is not today. I've had enough of light. Thank you. And then I looked down and then I saw that there was a planet Earth. And I'm like, I'm going back to Earth. And I saw that people were fighting, just like they were fighting on these levels. And I saw that people were fighting about some things that were like shell related, like shadow related. I could see that there was another like perspective, point of view, like almost like a bigger picture that could help to transform those fights about which looked like very small and insignificant things to me. Of course, at that level, from that spiritual experience, it's easy to think like that, right? But my intention to come back to Earth was to specifically actually write short fiction stories or produce short kinds of something like stories or even YouTube videos or something, products of expression, like maybe a painting or something. And those short things would be helping to change perspective somehow, some way, to give what I have received from that experience. And I guess in this video, it's like very explicit. I'm actually literally telling you of that experience because that's an experience that enriched my life and changed my life when I was a teenager. And one of the experiences that changed my life. So I wanted to forward it, and I hope that something was new here, for you. Something was cool. And I feel that this YouTube video, I didn't do any energy work or anything, but I felt when I was talking to my computer basically right now, I felt that light again, and I felt that love again, and even almost to the point of crying and almost to the point of trance. That when that message was coming through, I knew that more than the message was coming through, it was that love, that light, that realization or something. I don't know what to call it, but that was coming through. So, and also I noticed that this kind of thing comes through when you watch YouTube videos with people sharing their near-death experiences, and when they just share that profound realization, when they're like, oh, I've seen a different perspective, I've seen that light, or I've seen this, and they're sharing this profound love experience that also like comes through. This light, this energy, this perspective, healing is coming through. I feel with every video of every person sharing their near-death experience, I'm feeling that light coming through. And when I watch it, I also want to cry. It's like I'm having my near-death experience once all over again, or having one of those spiritual visions where I see the light all over again, and it feels like coming home a bit. So yeah, I hope this video enriches your life experience somehow, some way. And thank you for watching my video. Please comment if you have any questions or anything that you have to share, like as if we're sitting around the fire and you have something to share about something relevant to this. Please share in the comments to this video. I'd love to read it. And also, I have a book that's called Tales of the Spirit and the Divine, where I do the same thing. These are short fiction, spiritual fiction stories and poems meant to share that light, that change in perspective. So the link to that ebook is in the description box below. And if you're interested in having a shamanic healing session with me, you can write at expansionscapes@gmail.com or go to the link provided in the description box below. I also help people develop and learn how to use their psychic skills and abilities and navigate the non-physical world, how I like to call it, to make it easier, less confusing, more like hands-on, simple, get to where you want to go, things like that. So you can write me or follow the links in the description box below. Please like this video and please subscribe, and I hope to see you in other videos of mine. I love you.